Anybody who would be sort of a potential victim of an environmental disaster ought to have some say in how those industries taking sort of environmental risks, but also earning a profit in the extraction industries and oil, gas, mining, what have you, are oversighted, how they're looked at, how they're managed, by regulators, but by the industry itself. And that's what we do.
Mark Swanson is the executive director of the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory Council.
The Prince William Sound RCAC is a group of citizens that basically represent the communities around Prince William Sound that spend some time and energy staying informed about the transportation of oil in and around Prince William Sound. These are the communities that were affected by the original 1989 Exxon Valdez oil spill, which at that time was the largest oil spill in the United States and one of the most publicized in the world. One of the learnings out of that spill was that there was a lot of complacency. Over time, with no accidents, it was easy for taxpayers and regulators to justify doing a little less. And so when the spill happened, everybody got caught by surprise by how big it was and how horrific the environmental damage was and how resources had to be flown in from everywhere. And so in response to that, there was also created this unique concept of citizens oversight, where basically the victims of an oil spill have an opportunity to provide advice and counsel to the regulators that look after the industry, but also the industry itself. And now none of those entities have to take the advice, but they have to consider it.
John Devins served as the mayor of Valdez during the Exxon Valdez oil spill. He was also part of the committee that, after the spill, negotiated with the oil industry to form a citizens advisory group for Prince William Sound. He eventually served as executive director of the RCAC from 1997 until he retired in 2009.
RCAC is mandated by both the Oil Pollution Act of 1990, but also by a contract with Alyeska, which was signed before the Oil Pollution Act of 90. So we have a contract with Alyeska that is good for as long as oil flows through the pipeline and for a certain period of time after that. Representatives from most of the communities that were oiled back in '89 would meet weekly in Anchorage, and we negotiated with Alyeska. They could see the handwriting on the wall. They knew that there was going to be legislation that would insist on it. So they beat the legislation by having signed a contract with us. But I think without the oil spill of '89, it never would have happened. Industry would have never bent to it, and Congress would have never insisted that we do this.
Devins describes the relationship between the RCAC and Alyeska over the past 20 years.
Generally, RCAC and Alyeska have gotten along well. That doesn't mean there haven't been many points of disagreement. We have the same goal in mind, but we have different priorities. The goal is not to spill any oil, but we're not as concerned about a profit margin. The priorities of the RCAC is to keep complacency out of it. Back in '89, we were very complacent. Make certain that only the best equipment is there, that the contingency plans meet with our approval as well as meet with good, sound science, and that there is the equipment that they say they have.
Having joined the RCAC in 2010, at about the 20-year point after the oil spill, Swanson says there's now what he calls a world-class system of protections in place. Still, he says nothing is static.
The manning on the pipeline, the actual infrastructure on the pipeline is changing. The pump stations have been automated, and they've replaced the mechanical pumps that required diesel engines and mechanics and all that with electric pumps, and they're buying electricity off the grid, and so it's a lot fewer people and a lot less expertise. The oil field that actually serves the pipeline is a mature and maturing oil field, so the volume's going down. The actual chemical composition of the oil coming down the pipeline is different, and that presents all kinds of new risks and new failure modes. We have sort of aging infrastructure at the terminal. Some of the tankers in the system are getting a bit long in the tooth, and so, as the whole system ages, some of the risk profiles change. And so investing the time and energy to stay on top of that and figure out, what are the risks and what are the right safeguards that need to be in place to manage those risks. Not to shut anything down, not to sort of say no, but the appropriate way to look at this, or the holistic way to look at this is, hey, you got to do these kind of things. You got to look at these kind of things.